No, in fact, I was raised a Catholic and had, there's in the Catholic Church, they were very homophobic. In fact, I went to this Jesuit seminary in Baltimore, and I left there because I saw a lot of gay people were there, but I couldn't deal with that. I was so closeted or so afraid of being gay that I eventually left. Well, Catholics, you were told anything to do with being gay was wrong. And it wasn't a matter of going to hell. It's just the lack of support in the family, in the community, just was horrible, was not easy to do. One of the things my mother always taught us in our family was that we were very fortunate in that we were intelligent, capable, and worked hard, but that it was our responsibility always to give back. Give back to the community, give back to the church, give back to your neighbors. And I took it to heart that. And so when I moved to Los Angeles, I started looking for opportunities of where I could give back. And certainly feeling that I was gay was very easy to transition into giving back into the gay community. Through the Stonewall Democratic Club, through the therapy group that I was part of, I just said, I'm capable and smart. And it was also very successful from a business standpoint. So I had little money that I could do things with, and I did. In the case of Stonewall Democrats, I was like vice president of the club. One of the projects, I'm also a project-oriented person. The president of Stonewall, a guy named Ken Schnorr, who was the first guy I knew to die of AIDS, came us to a group of us one day and said the county of Los Angeles needs to be redistricted because of the 1970 census. And so he got a group of us together, taught us what it meant to create a census tract for that, and we did it. And our census was accepted by the county, probably for one reason, in that we did the whole county. A lot of people did parts of the county, but we did the whole county and they accepted it. They agreed with our criteria, which was to keep much more of a regional orientation. They wanted a black community. We created a black community. They wanted a Mexican community. We created a Mexican community in East LA, which made it much easier for people to run for office and actually get elected. And we, among ourselves, agreed that we needed a gay community. And so we created a pocket that became West Hollywood. There was no such thing as West Hollywood, but we created electable districts where gay people could actually run for office. And that was the genesis of West Hollywood. The guy, Ken Schnorr, who was the president of the Democratic Club, died. And everybody at that time, they were calling it the gay cancer. So he had one of the first people I knew that actually had AIDS. Okay, and a couple years later, I became president of the board, executive board for the Gay and Lesbian Center. And one of the things we realized in the community was that we weren't getting any help. That was the county health department's responsibility to deal with an epidemic, and they weren't doing anything. I think because of homophobia. They were just afraid. This was a gay disease. They didn't want to be associated with it. And so a group of us on the center board, the Gay Center board, and other organizations, the really movers and shakers in Los Angeles, got together and said, what are we going to do? Nobody's going to help us. And so we created a structure for recognizing what does it take to fight an epidemic like this, because it hadn't been done. And we did. We said, okay, you need education. So the center, the LA Center, had a good education program. So we brought them in with that. They had the STD clinic, so we could use them in their expertise with medicine to do that. There was an organization called the Minority AIDS Project. They had the outreach into the Minority Project, into the minority community, because AIDS was spreading across all segments. And there was an overall structure we didn't have. So we went out and tapped certain people that were good organizers, people like David Wexler, and said, let's create this structure. And that structure became AIDS Project Los Angeles.
Wow.
And that's what we had to do. It was a real notice of what it takes to establish, create, fight a epidemic like that.
Yeah, I think since it's the fastest civil rights movement, I think it does a lot with your generation's proactivity to fight this with rights, with health, and because the government was not doing anything.
No. You have to reach out. You have to get involved. It takes energy, smarts, not afraid to risk what people are saying. You know, as president of the board of the Gay Center in LA, I went through about every 2 years we had to recreate a board because the board members are dying of AIDS. I stopped at some point in time when talking to some friends of mine one day after I went to memorial for a particular close friend, and they had no concept. They were the straight couple I knew, and I sat there and started counting the number of board members, the number of members in the gay community that had died. And I stopped at about 85. And I said, you know what? There are people who are missing, but it's overwhelming. You know, these are people that were making all this happen and gave to the community. And it was amazing. And not with anybody's support. Many of these board members I knew personally. As they started dying of AIDS, their families started rejecting them. Or the families would come in, kick the boyfriends away, the partners, and say, no, I want that house for me. You may have lived there the last 20 years with your boyfriend. It's mine. I mean, there was a lot of bitterness and no support, not a lot of familial support. It was just...
It's horrible time.
It was devastating, you know, and as I mentioned, I did have to keep bringing new people into the board because it's the people that give the energy. Or the other thing that happened was the prior president, Duke Homages, and I were sitting there, and he's saying, you know, a lot of people are dying without wills, and this is money that's going back to these people, these families. They didn't care about their sons and daughters. So we created what we call the Circle of Life and started promoting in the gay community to put a gift in your will so that money would then go to the center or to some of these other organizations. And very quickly we had millions of dollars in this circle of life, which is used to sustain the gay center right now in other areas. But it takes smart. Somebody had to have that idea because everybody thought, nah, nobody ever put money into will. Well, will, if you ask them and present to them why this is smart. And I mean, that the Circle of Life is now literally in millions of dollars.
It is. Yeah.
And it's a foundation that's very important to the gay center in a way.
Yeah. Well, I just want to take personally to thank you for all your work. And this project is really to commemorate the decades past who blazed the trail for me and the younger generation to have the quality of life that we have. So I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I mean,